Welcome back, guys. So let's do another monthly watches, and I'm really excited because there's a lot I've seen. So let's go ahead, go to my profile right here, and again, I love getting on Letterbox. Letterbox is the coolest like movie thing that you could like show all the movies that you've watched. I think it's so awesome. You can see some of my recent watches right here. But let's go to my diary for this month of July. So, starting out, we watched the movie My Spy, which is a movie that I already recorded the review for. I just don't have it up yet, but it's not a movie that people are clamoring to see. But My Spy is pretty just whatever. There's nothing special about it. I really can't say much about this. It's got Dave Bautista in it. He's an ex-cop, or an ex, like, military guy, and like he screws up and then he meets a kid that helps him out. It's just a run-of-the-mill movie like that. Not much to say about My Spy. And then I waited a few days, and the next movie I watched was Lost After Dark, which I gave two stars out of 5. I was pretty uninterested in this movie. I thought this movie was really, really lame, really boring, and really uninteresting. I really didn't care for this one at all, and I am ashamed because I really was excited because I've heard people talk about how great this one is. I just didn't see that, unfortunately, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but my opinion was I didn't really enjoy Lost After Dark. And then next up, I watched Boogeyman, the Killer compilation, which I never watched before. I didn't give it a rate. No, I gave it a 2.5-star rating. I didn't know how to rate this because this movie is literally just a compilation of clips from horror movies, so there's nothing that I could say about it. It's just clips of famous horror villains. Really not much for that one. Then, for the 7th of July, I think was the day that Ennio Morricone passed away, which, wow, really sad, really horrible. But he was in his 90s. He was very, very old. I really love his scores from the movies I've heard him that I've seen, specifically Exorcist 2. And I know that's not a movie that people will go, oh, really? That's the first Ennio Morricone movie you're going to talk about? But I watched The Good and Bad and the Ugly, and I've never seen this before. And it's a movie that everybody says is one of the best movies ever made. And I've seen the first 2 movies in the trilogy, Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. I've seen both of those, but then I finally watched Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is a great movie. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. It's considered one of the best movies ever, but I enjoyed it. I'm not super into Westerns, and I know Morricone did a lot of Western scores, but this movie is good. I do like it a lot. It's just not one that I'm going to really rewatch much. It's got Clint Eastwood. What's more to say, really, about this one? And then I watched Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. And I did a review on this, and on the review, I said I couldn't even remember the title besides Eurovision because this was such a long title. And this is the new Netflix movie with Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams, also Dan Stevens and Pierce Brosnan and Demi Lovato. It's got an interesting cast to it, but it's a really whatever movie. Like, I like when it's kind of being serious, but then you bring in Will Ferrell doing a lot of dumb shit that, like, doesn't seem like it needs to be in this movie. At least in my opinion, it didn't. I thought it was really weird. Like, it's a very weird movie, and I gave it 2.5 stars. It's just a really weird, like it says in my diary that I said that it's a big budget. It has a big budget, but it's weirdly tone deaf. Like, it wasn't a bad experience, but it was just really whatever. And then this was a bad experience. I watched the movie Flawless because I've got this Robert De Niro like collection, DVD collection. It's got like 8 Robert De Niro movies. Hadn't seen any of them besides Raging Bull, so I'm watching through those. And Flawless is a movie about, I can kind of remember this police officer who gets a stroke and he has to do singing lessons with the gay guy next door. And it's a movie where it's like, it just honestly annoyed me out of anything. Like, it was just an annoying movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Robert De Niro are both in it, and it's weird. Like, Philip Seymour Hoffman like usual, does a good job in this movie, but he's really obnoxious in a way where it's like, it just annoys me. And then Robert De Niro is very obnoxious as well. And I really couldn't stand this movie. It was just so uninteresting and so really annoying. And I just could not stand these characters bickering at each other back and forth. And it was really, really annoying. And it just drove me crazy. I didn't think it was a good movie at all. I didn't really see any good critical reception for it online either. So, and directed by Joel Schumacher. He has a lot of hits and misses. And again, R.I.P. He died this year. But he has some great movies too. And then we watched Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, which is my least favorite Bob Clark movie so far I've seen, like it says in the diary below. I didn't really think it was that interesting. I thought it was really weird. It was a strange movie that had a lot of weird jokes in it, but weren't funny. And it was just an awkward movie. And Bob Clark, I really like the other horror movies I've seen him do, like Black Christmas or Death Dream. And I know he's done a couple others, but I just haven't seen those, or I don't remember on top of my head. But this movie just was lame. It was so lame. 2 stars out of 5. Just, I did not care for it. Then I rewatched Ma because I found it at Walmart for $13 on Blu-ray. So I'm like, I'm going to buy it. Ma is a movie that I liked when I saw it in the theater, and I gave it 3.5 stars initially whenever I saw it in the theater on Letterboxd, but then I upped it to a 4 because I actually really, really liked this movie. This movie was very well done. I thought it's weird because there's more to the surface than you expect it to be for this kind of movie, and especially with the trailer, which was a great trailer. I love the trailer for the movie as well. But it's just a movie that I feel like is a little more deep than you think it is. Like, for this type of Blumhouse horror movie, like, I liked it. I thought it was done very well. I thought the acting was good. I thought it was creepy. I thought it was effective. I thought Octavia Spencer was great. Really liked it on rewatch. And then, of course, I've seen this a million times. The Burning, watched it so many times. Love it. Rewatched the Scream Factory. I almost want to rate it 5 stars. I gave it 4.5 out of 5, but I think I might have to up it to 5 because it's becoming one of my favorite slashers. I really love The Burning. And then we go on a big run of rewatches. So I rewatched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, seen it a million times. Nothing different about it, but I love it. Just special movie, special place. To me, the scariest movie ever made. Seen it so many times. We'll see it many more, but just watched it once this month. And then I rewatched to review Magic, which I reviewed a couple years ago on my channel, but I just wanted to re-review it, and really love Magic. It's a great movie. It's a great horror movie. It's a great romantic movie. It's great everything. I really love Magic. It's fantastic. And then we go to Yummy, which is a Shudder exclusive movie that all I gave in my diary thing was fun, gross moments. That's all I could say about it. 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It had a few cringy moments that were fun, but it's pretty forgettable. And then rewatched Candyman. So Candyman is great. Scream Factory, bought it for $10 at Walmart. Again, Walmart's been having a lot of good releases lately, which surprises me that they've been having all these Scream Factory releases. But Candyman, what can I say about it? 4.5 out of 5 stars. I rated it. I really think it's a great horror movie. And of course, not much else I could say about it. It's great. And then I watched The Old Guard, which is Netflix's newest action movie that came out pretty recently. And I really, really enjoyed this one more than I expected. I thought this one was really fun and really solid. It's not anything that's like genre bending, but I thought that it was really fun with the performances, the action. I cared about these characters. I thought they did a good job of elaborating on them. I thought that the movie was just a really solid action movie that kept my attention, because the last Netflix action movie I watched, Extraction, with Chris Hemsworth, I just did not give a crap about. And it wasn't a bad movie. Like, it had great stunts in it, but it was just so boring. And this one, I felt like had a little bit more of an interesting story than that one. But it's not like the best movie ever, but it's good and I enjoy it. And then we watched Vivarium, which I really loved and I did a review on. Um, I really dug this one for its strange surrealness, according to my diary. And it's funny to look back at these diary reviews. I only say like a sentence worth of like how I feel about a movie because I know I'm going to talk about it on here. But on Letterboxd, I do like a sentence worth of review. But Vivarium was really, really cool, really fun, really effective, and it's a cool premise. I know you've seen stuff like older shows like Twilight Zone stuff, but like I think that it was done very well as a movie. And then I rewatched Escape from LA, which Scream Factory bought the release a while back. Finally got to rewatch it again. This one, at first, I think I gave it 2.5 stars the first time I watched this, like last year or the year before. And I upped it to 3 stars. I think that the movie is good until the end. And the end just kind of didn't work for me. I thought the end was pretty lame. And it's funny because it doesn't work for me in this movie, but this movie has a lot of influence, it feels like, to Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is a weird connection, but like the thing that Snake does at the end of this movie is like what they do at the end of Last Jedi, but I loved how it was executed in Last Jedi, and this I was just like, that's fine, but it's not as well executed. I'm not invested like I was in Last Jedi, but this one has a good 2/3 in my opinion, and I feel like a lot of people think that too. Like, I think it's good, but as it got to the end, I was like, it didn't do much for me. It didn't feel like it worked as well, but it's still not a bad movie. It's just a movie that, like, it's fine. I definitely like the first one way more. And then I watched Come to Daddy, which is such a weird name. Like, this is such a strange name, but it's memorable. And again, I did a review on this one. What I said on the diary wasn't really a fan. Setup was good. The rest of the movie was bonkers, but I didn't enjoy it. And I still feel that way. I still didn't enjoy it that much. It was just pretty run-of-the-mill at first, like after the thing happens, and I won't say what it is, because if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. When the thing happens, I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna change how the movie is, and then I just didn't get as interested. So it's fine, it's whatever. Elijah Wood's fine in it. And then I watched Curtains. Curtains I thought was really fun. I really enjoyed this one. I just have a review that I just put up. So depending on whenever this is released, it's hard to release all these reviews because for some reason the Wi-Fi here is horrible now and it's hard to upload. It takes a while, and I work every day, so it's like it's difficult to make time to do this. But there's a lot of reviews I've got coming, and this one I just did and uploaded today. But from this recording, but I did like Curtains a lot. This one was really fun. It was creepy. I enjoyed it a lot. And then we come to the big one, the one that I watched for the first time and I really loved, which was Society. This one was freaking crazy. This one, you can't really justify explaining the movie until you've seen it. It's just so insane. And it's got a great build-up. It's very effective. And I did a review on it already, really gushed about it, really loved it. Awesome. And then I got into a Halloween mood, so I rewatched the first Halloween with the commentary with John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis in the 35th anniversary edition. That's what comes with the Scream Factory release. But really insightful. I really liked listening to that commentary. And then I immediately jumped on Halloween 2 because Halloween 2 is one of my favorite movies. Love it. Again, with the commentary, with Rick Rosenthal's commentary, and Leo Rossi joins, which is cool. What else can I say? I can watch this movie every month. I love Halloween 2. Then I watched a new movie, Dario Argento's Trauma, a new movie for me, because it came out in 1993, but it's an Argento movie I haven't seen. I saw it was on Prime. This one is weird, and I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's definitely not the greatest Argento. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's a weird movie. The thing I remember the most about it is how awesome Piper Laurie is. And it's so cool in seeing her in this movie. She's awesome. She's really attractive in this movie, too. Like, it's weird because she gets old. She's way older than I expected in this movie, but she she really nails it in this movie, and I really liked her. And this one is just, it doesn't really feel like Argento. It doesn't feel like it's much of a Dario Argento movie, except for every once in a while. It feels like it's way different than his older movies. So it's a mixed bag, but I'll be doing a review on that. And then on Netflix on a whim, I just watched this movie Kangaroo Jack, which I grew up whenever this movie was released. I never saw it. And good God, I'm glad I didn't see this as a kid, because I gave this movie a half a star, and I barely ever do that to any movie. I try to find some positive things about a movie. This movie was terrible. Like I said in my diary, it says one of the worst movies I've seen. The Kangaroo Jack character is in the movie. He's in the movie. It's this kangaroo that steals this, I can't remember. Is it a bag of money? It's some kind of thing that these guys are after, that the two main characters, Anthony Anderson and Jerry O'Connell, are trying to get, but the kangaroo takes it. They've got to chase after the kangaroo, and the kangaroo, in one scene, one hallucination, talks and raps, and the movie's marketed around that. And then the rest of the movie is not about that. It makes no freaking sense. It's like one of the worst marketing I've ever seen. Some of the worst marketing for a kids movie I've ever seen. It's terrible with that, and the movie is terrible. Like, I could not stand this movie. And I kind of wanted it to be like a kangaroo that raps. Is that bad to say? Like, I wanted this movie to be batshit bad, but it was just incredibly run-of-the-mill bad. Like, it was just so uninteresting. It was originally the story behind this movie is way more interesting than the actual movie itself, because the plot was going to be originally be an adult movie, like a dark movie, and then they're like, no, we're gonna make it a kids movie. And there's a lot of weird jokes in this that I'm surprised they got away with. And they saw the movie Snow Dogs came out, that Cuba Gooding Jr. Disney movie with the Huskies, and they had one scene where he hallucinates in that movie, and the dogs talk to him. So they do the same thing in this movie, but it's way worse. And I saw Snow Dogs as a kid. I don't even remember it, but I feel like it was better than this. But this movie was just terrible, horrible. Like, it's funny to see young Michael Shannon in it, though. He's intimidating as hell, as like usual in his newer movies, but it's funny to see him in a piece of shit like this. This movie was awful. Horrible. And then I again got into another Halloween mood and rewatched Halloween H2O. I unbiasedly gave it a 5 stars because I love this movie. It's just one of my favorite movies ever. I'm not saying it's a great movie objectively, but I love it. I think it's awesome. One of my favorites. And then we watched Videodrome, which I bought the Criterion Blu-ray for it because Barnes & Noble had their half-off Criterion sale. And I'm not really going to buy any movies on the Criterion Collection for $40 each, so I saw it was 50% off, so I spent $20 to get Videodrome. And Videodrome gave it 4 stars out of 5. Hadn't seen it before. Cronenberg, wanted to see it. Really enjoyed it. It's a tad boring, though, but I did like the ideas that it did. I liked how it was interesting in some parts, but it was not a movie that I really loved, but I liked it and appreciated it for what it was. It's not my favorite Cronenberg that I've seen, but it's pretty good. I really liked it. And then I watched Scare Package, which is, again, a Shudder exclusive anthology movie. A lot of different anthology stories. 7 directors, 7 tales of terror, 0 working cell phones. It's a movie that there's jokes that work. There's jokes that are pretty lame. It's not a movie that you shouldn't watch this if you're not into meta humor, like something like Scream. Like, this is very meta, trying to be, and there's some jokes that are funny, there's some jokes that aren't, but it worked fine for me. It's whatever, 3 stars out of 5. And then I watched Peter, Paul, and Mary. The Song is Love, and you're just like, whoa, what the hell is this thing? This is about that band, I guess. I didn't know nothing about them. The reason I watched this movie is because it's a Tobe Hooper movie. I wanted to watch all of Tobe Hooper's filmography, and I saw this was on YouTube. And it was not very interesting. It was whatever. But it was his second movie, because I watched Eggshells, which was his first one, and then this one. And then the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came after this one. So I'm watching his filmography, and this is technically just like a documentary kind of thing, but like it's what it did. It's not something that I was already interested in, but I watched it because of Toby Hooper, and I wanted to see his filmography. This is whatever. And then the second to last movie I watched or rewatched was Halloween Resurrection, 2 stars out of 5. Rating has not changed. I'll give it this though. I do like a couple things more about this movie the more I watch it. I do like the Myers mask. I do like the score. I do like Sarah. And I like how it's different than the other sequels where they're related family members, because Laurie Strode is killed at the beginning of this movie, and then it's about him killing these random people in the Myers house. So it's not about a family connection really. After the first insulting 20 minutes, but it's definitely not unwatchable. Like I can watch this movie, and I honestly am enjoying it more and more. And I watched it with the commentary, and H2O I watched with the Steve Miner commentary, Steve Miner, Jamie Lee Curtis commentary. But then I watched the commentary on Resurrection that Rick Rosenthal did, and it's interesting to hear him talk about it, because it's a movie that I don't like. It's a movie that a lot of people don't like. Or it's a movie that I like. I honestly am liking it more and more, but I still gave it 2 stars because it's pretty bad in the overall scheme of things. But it's watchable, is what I'm trying to say. It's watchable. And spoiler alert for next month, I've been rewatching the rest of the Halloween movies, not in order, but Halloween 5 I rewatched today, and it was even more harder to watch than this movie. So I'll give it that. This movie's more watchable than Halloween 5, but it's still a bad movie. It's not good, but I can watch it a little more more and more. I do marathons of this. I can rewatch it a little more. And then the last movie that I come to at the end of this month is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I rewatched this one, and this one I had on Blu-ray 4K for like a year. I bought it at Black Friday last year. It hadn't been a year yet. It's been almost a year. But I watched this once in the theaters. I didn't get the movie really, because the movie got pretty mixed reception to it. And then it didn't do as well in the theaters as the other Harry Potter movies or even the first Fantastic Beasts movie. And it's a movie that is written by J.K. Rowling, and she wrote the screenplay. And as a screenplay, this would have worked better as a book. But because she's writing this as a screenplay and then putting it into film, it feels very cluttered. It feels very, very novel-like, where like it doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like exposition. It feels like these characters saying a lot of this stuff, but it just doesn't work all the way. But I'll give it this, though. I did like Jude Law. I did like Johnny Depp. I did like Zoe Kravitz a lot as Letta Lestrange. I thought she was great. It's weird because this movie isn't as much about the characters from Fantastic Beasts from the last movie, like the main 4. I mean, they're in it, but it doesn't seem like they're as important. And it's very weird. It's directed by David Yates, who has directed every Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts movie since Order of the Phoenix. So he's directed like Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, and Fantastic. So he's directed 6 of these movies. And it's got his touch. It looks just like his other movies, but because J.K. Rowling wrote the screenplay, it just feels so much like it would have worked better if it was adapted from her screenplay to film, as opposed to her just making the screenplay for the film, because it just feels so cluttered and very low stakes. It doesn't feel like there's much that happens, but yet so much happens. And then there's a lot of things that aren't elaborated on. Like, why did this one character become a bad character at the end of the movie? They don't explain that. Besides one little line. If this movie was executed better, just instead of just screenplay to film, it didn't really work like the way that she wrote it. And she's a great writer. She's a great talent, J.K. Rowling. And I love her Harry Potter movies and books. I love the Harry Potter movies. I love her books. The first Fantastic Beast I enjoyed as well. And this one, there's so many things that I do enjoy about it. Just being a fun movie. Just the score's great. I do like the characters. I do like the acting. It's just a mess. It's a mess of a movie. But that is the last movie that I'm talking about, because next up I think is, yep, spoiler alert, Halloween 3 is the first movie I watched of this month of August. But that is all of my movies that I watched for the month of July, and a lot of rewatches, but a lot of watches for new stuff. I want to try to have more variety this month, and I do want to try to watch more, even though I've been rewatching a lot. But it's hard to do that with reviewing because there's so many reviews I got to do, but then it's so hard to upload them all. So I'm too ambitious, but that is it on this review, on this watches. Tell me down below what you guys have been watching recently, and thank you guys for watching.